Well, other than I would say really the first 7.5 minutes of the second half, I thought we played really solid basketball. Very odd game. They're so deliberate on offense, and usually when a team's very deliberate on offense and they get down big, you tend to play a little quicker. And they didn't really do that, so that's why the game feels funny. You know, you're up bigger, you're really up, and yet the tempo is still very slow on their end. And it was a good experience for our guys to have to deal with that. And obviously they played a matchup zone for 40 minutes, which we have a lot of guys that was their first experience playing against that type of defense. And it takes a couple opportunities for them to settle in and get comfortable. Obviously Zeke Nnaji was just fantastic. Not many players can go 8 for 8 from the field in any game, 10 for 12 from the foul line, and he had 11 rebounds, 6 on offense, 26 points in only 21 minutes. He was clearly dominant, and he has a knack of getting fouled, and it really showed in tonight's game. And I thought he did a real good job against their zone in the middle. His teammates found him, but he delivered. So I thought Zeke was good. And overall, the last point I would make is, 24 assists and 8 turnovers is really good. And especially considering we had 5 of those 8 turnovers in about 3.5 minutes of the second half. So if you get through that first 3.5 or 6, 7 minutes of the second half, we were a solid team, and now we have to move on and learn from this game, get ready for a very good New Mexico State game on Sunday.
What's been the key to this defensive, renaissance you guys have had the first 3 games of the year? I know it's early, but what's
we have to get a lot better on defense. We in each game that we've played, we've had really good moments, and then I think we have some things that, we have to learn from and bounce. I don't want to say bounce back from, but really try to look at and fix and teach. And you're still at the very beginning of a season. We have a lot of new faces, so how much progress we can make from one game to the next is something we're talking a lot about, especially on defense.
How important is, along those lines, how important is it to get these bigger games and get a lot of guys in to see some action?
Yeah, but this is our team. We have a lot of guys that can play. That should allow us to be really good in the second halves of games, which has already shown up. It should make us a durable team throughout the long course of a season. On different nights, we're not just dependent on 1 or 2 guys. I mean, we can strike from a lot of different areas. And as I say that, it's really a puzzle, and it takes more time to get it right. Right now we're doing certain things that maybe 2 months from now we'll look back on and say, boy, we're a lot different team. But like Devonaire had the opportunity to play for the first time tonight, I think it's obvious that he's a much better player than he was a year ago, and that's to his credit. So it'll take a little bit of time for us to insert him.
What was the plan for Devonaire tonight?
Just to get him in and allow him to play a role. There wasn't like any particular minutes other than he wasn't gonna start for. We're pretty set there right now. Just our starting lineup.
It's way early in the season, obviously, but you must really like coaching these guys. They share the ball.
I really like coaching the guys because we have a great group of kids, a great group of character-wise. You've asked me a lot of questions about our freshmen. I answered that as far back as a year ago, that each of them comes from a very winning environment. I mean, Zeke won a state championship. Nico and Josh, championships. Christian, championships. And they're fun to bring in to a group that's really hungry. Max Hazard played on a team a year ago that won over 30 games, almost was in the Sweet 16. That was who he was a year ago. So, he knows how to win. Jamal Baker played at Kentucky. So we have a number of guys that understand winning, and I think with that are willing to do the things that we need to do to be a good team.
Does that make your job easier, or what does that do to your job?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because, you don't ever want a player to not get into a rhythm because we're subbing. So I think we'll get that right. We're not perfect right now on who should be in with who and how that goes. But give you a great example. I mean, Max Hazard, you look at this plus-minus deal, he's plus 38 tonight. plays hard on defense, made a couple big steals, did the same thing in last game. It's one of our team's best shooters, plays the game with great energy. You know, he might deserve a little bit more. Well, he's earning it, and I think that's where depth comes in because, you know, nobody can really rest on their laurels right now. Everybody's on edge to get that opportunity, and that makes for a good atmosphere every day. And we've had some really good practices, and I would fully expect us to continue to have good practices.
I know every team's different, but the makeup of this team between obviously the freshmen you have, but then you have Max Hazard, you have guys, Stone Gettings coming off the bench. Is this a unique kind of roster makeup you have this year as opposed to some of the other teams you've had? I know they're going to date back half a decade.
Yep. It is different. One team that our team this year reminds me a lot of is when Solomon Hill was a senior. You know, we had Mark Lyons come in, and we had Solomon as a senior, but we had a real good group of freshmen. And that's when Caleb and Brandon Ashley and those guys were all freshmen. TJ would have been sitting out. And our depth was one of the signatures of that season. And, you know, it's up to us to make that the signature of this season as well.
Is there anything that you could attribute to the start of the second half as far as that sluggish nature?
No, I mean, we weren't ready. Believe me, it wasn't for a lack of effort in the locker room. You know, anytime you have a big lead, you kind of warn your team, come out and be ready to go. But 5 turnovers, 6 fouls. I know 6 fouls didn't happen in the first 4 minutes, but the 5 turnovers did. We just sometimes when you push the ball like we do, you want things to be easy. And you could push the ball and not get a good shot early. And we weren't as patient. And when you're not patient sometimes, it can go the wrong direction. But it's a great learning opportunity. And I think a lot of our guys will be better the next time we come out.
What adjustments had to be made to attack that zone properly?
We made no adjustments. We attacked it properly from the opening tip to the final buzzer.
What do you think of the way Jamal played today?
I thought Jamal did a really good job. He's solid, makes the simple play. He's getting more healthy, by the way. And he's the one player that's missed the most practice because of his hip situation. And I think for the first time in about 6 weeks, watching him run and just talking to him, I think he's really confident in his running. And you can kind of see that, the way he's moving. He's moving better out there. But Jamal's a really experienced player in a lot of ways, and he does a lot of good things for our team.
What's been your assessment of Chase Jeter so far? He's had some slow games.
Yeah, Chase hasn't found his rhythm. That's on us. We have to work with him. We have to get the ball to him in a good position. Tonight, boy, he had just a couple that just the ball, the guy blocked it, or he thought he was going to shot fake and he didn't, but he was just right there. But he'll be fine. He's experienced. I watch him every day in practice, and he's doing really well. He had 6 rebounds in 18 minutes and does a lot of other things. But scoring, he really hasn't, really settled in. You can kind of feel that, and we have to work with him to get him confident.
Josh Green tonight.
You mentioned that you've been doing a lot of zone in practice, preparing for what you expect to face. I mean, was it still different with the matchup they threw and the way they did it, or?
I only say that because we play man-to-man. So, and most guys coming from high school especially, it's different when they see that first college zone. But you're right, we are working every day, partly because our conference is so zone-heavy, Pac-12. But we didn't have any problems tonight. I mean, we had 87, and we could have scored more, especially if you take out the first 4 minutes of the second half.
When you practiced against it, have you found that kind of success with Zeke in particular, taking advantage of when?
Zeke's a lot like Derek Williams against his own. He can really hurt you in the high post, but he doesn't have to do it just by shooting. He can drive, so he's the ideal player to get the ball anywhere in and around the rim or anywhere in and around the key area against the zone, because when he turns and faces, a lot of good things will happen. He had a couple good passes tonight as well.
You must like practice because the depth, they compete with each other, trying to get position to play more. Over the last couple of years, you didn't have that depth to compete.
Well, last year especially, yeah, for sure. And you saw it was kind of like a war of attrition against us. You know, the longer that we went, the more it became more difficult, and we just didn't have the bodies and the depth. Knock on wood, you know, things can change quickly, but you know, right now I believe that that's one of our strengths, and we have to keep building that strength.
Josh Green tonight seemed to struggle a little bit from the field, 4 for 10 shooting, but he was able to affect the game in multiple ways. What does that say about a freshman to come in and do that and not give up anything on the defensive end?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my straightforward answer is, you know, Josh isn't that one-trick pony. You know, he's not just if he makes threes, he's good, and if he doesn't, we don't get anything out of him. He's the ultimate two-way player, and he's a great competitor. You know, he drives the ball, as you saw tonight. He's made some great passes already in his young career. Defensively, he can guard the ball. He gets in the passing lanes, and once he settled in, I thought he did all of that tonight. You know, tonight he didn't make a three, but that doesn't define his presence. He does so many good things.
What do you think that the way, I mean, you guys obviously are playing New Mexico State on Sunday. Chris Jans took that team within a few points of beating Auburn last year in the tournament. I know they've lost to UTEP, but what are your thoughts about that matchup and kind of what they present in their unique style of both offense and defense?
Well, I think New Mexico State will be one of the most difficult games we'll play all season. It will be one of our biggest non-conference games we play. Again, they won 30 games a year ago. They really had Auburn in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Chris is an outstanding coach. We have a great respect for Wichita State. And, you know, he runs his program very similar to what Wichita State does. Their toughness, their quickness, how hard they play, they take great pride in those areas. So, you know, what I'll tell you is it's going to be an amazing test, and we have to be ready to go. You know, hopefully Mikhail will be electric. You know, you hear about a lot of late starts. Well, this is the opposite. This is an early start, and we're going to need our home crowd, and we're going to need everything that we can really muster up to be ready for a very good team. But respect for them, a big reason that we played them, because we knew they were really, really good. So you build your schedule. Sunday is one of those marquee games on our schedule, and we know that, our players know that, and we got to be ready to go.
Are you willing to discuss Dalen now that you have his letter? And what
I
does it
do.
bring?
Yep. Well, you know, we really appreciate Dalen, you know, joining us. Like I had mentioned to you guys all along, we'll eventually have a class of 4 or 5. I wouldn't be surprised by Christmas if we don't add 1 or 2 more. But Dalen's the one who signed early, and you know, the thing that I love about him is he is a great competitor, and although he can play the point guard position, you know, he can play with a point guard. You know, he can play with 2 guards because he's 6'7". You can really play him anywhere on the court. I think a lot like Josh Green, I think he has a chance to be just an incredible defensive player. He's only getting better. Playing for Hillcrest right now. They play a national schedule. You know, Mike Bibby's a really good coach. And I think Dalen's going to learn a lot and come ready to play. So he was here the other night and watched our Illinois game, which is great for him to see because a year from now, you know, he'll be out there. So we're really, really excited to have him. I don't care where he's ranked, but in my mind, he's a 5-star player. You know, you got to remember, Zeke was a 4-star. A lot of people didn't have him in the top 50, maybe top 100 for a long time. So I'll give Dalen similar credit.
It sounded like, I don't know if this is true, but you had been following him for a long time, but really kind of turned up your interest in, maybe in June, July. Is that accurate? Or, you
Yeah.
know, how did it go in that recruitment of him?
Yeah, I mean, every recruitment's different, but being from Phoenix, we were well aware of him. But you know, you just any player that you recruit, you want to make sure that we're a good fit and that he's a good fit for us. And you know, it became very obvious to our staff that he would be a great fit.
Does he remind you of any player that you've coached in the past?
He's so unique because he's so tall, and yet, you know, he's a guard. You know, he's 6'6", 6'7". So I really don't have a comparison of a guy. But I think versatility-wise, he's like a lot of the good players that we've had. It's not like he does one thing. He could do a lot of things. He can impact the game and not really score a lot of points.